change. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in the first hour is none other than the Right Reverend Judge Wendell Griffin, a retired judge and pastor. Is a highly respected figure in the realm of social justice with a diverse background in law, theology, and activism. He has dedicated his life to standing up for the rights of the oppressed and challenging established norms. He is the author of Parables, Politics and the Prophetic Faith by Alan Bozak and Reverend Dr. Judge Wendell Griffin. Judge Griffin, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good afternoon, Brother Jesse. How are you?
Judge, you know what? I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Struggling, but you know what? It's the struggle we've always had.
You know what? I want to say that when I think about your achievements and your level of scholasticism between the ministry, between the law, between social activism, there is so much scholastically, intellectually, and spiritually that comes together in your space that you've got to be feeling about the same way I'm feeling at this hour in American history. And so it's amazing. Those who are spiritually inclined might not have the legal acumen, and they may not have the social justice acumen. And there are those who have the social justice acumen who may not have the legal and the professional legal acumen. But in you, it all comes together. So I can only imagine that we're probably feeling the same way at the same time in the same space, because so many facets of everything that we've been trained and the core of our spirits come together in this unique moment.
They do indeed. They do indeed. And the history of our people dealing with these kinds of things comes out on us fresh. We are back in the same struggle that our ancestors, our parents and grandparents dealt with. And the saying goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same, becomes ever new. History is not linear. History is cyclical. And we have to just keep on pushing, as Curtis Mayfield said. We learned how to do that. We've learned how to pray and fight, watch, pray and fight, lawyer up, fight on, pray on, agitate, advocate, organize, grieve when you have to, but always struggle and be vigilant to overcome.
You know, we're going to have a great time in this hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580, because I agree with the judge, with the minister in the judge and the spirituality of the judge, but I also agree with his social activism and his understanding of the fact that we are in time, but we are in time over time, 1619 to the present. But we might have a little struggle here over the question of, yes, history is cyclical, but we're also, as African Americans, on a linear path that really pushes progress forward.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you agree with that. From Plessy versus Ferguson to Brown versus the Board of Education to the Civil Rights Movement forward, we have been, more than any other ethnic group in the United States, and maybe even more than, I'm just going to be candid, white folks themselves, have pushed the progress of democracy in places that we feel the threat to democracy fundamentally different than most people who dwell therein.
The second stanza of Lift Every Voice and Sing comes to mind as you were speaking. Stony to the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place which our father's side, our parents' side. We have come over a way that with tears had been watered. We have come, treading our path through the blood of the stars, out from the gloomy past. Till now we stand at last. We always coming. We are always overcoming. We're always encountering. So you got me to. No, you got me on. I need.
Listen, I'm about to turn my show over to you.
Let me back up.
My producer will not be happy with that.
Let me back up.
I'm so proud. And
Sister Gina gonna put both of us.
I am so glad and proud that you're on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, in our longest segment, we're going to cover a number of critical issues that matter to all Americans at this hour. We are on KBLA Talk 1580, but we are also live on YouTube, live on a number of platforms on the KBLA app. Download the KBLA app. We're all over the country, and our very special guest in this hour is the Right Reverend Judge Wendell Griffin, a retired judge and pastor, very highly respected, and I'm honored that he's our guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward, on KBLA Talk 1580 KBLA. Listen, I do want to say this, Judge. I'm glad you're our guest. We'll see you when we come forward.
Glad to be here, brother. Thank you for having me.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate, with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless, for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest is the Right Reverend Judge Wendell Griffin. Judge Griffin served for 12 years on the Arkansas Court of Appeals and 13 years on the 6th Judicial Circuit of Arkansas, 5th Division, before retiring from the judiciary in December of 2022. As pastor of New Millennium Church in Little Rock, Arkansas, he is a public theologian whose discernment and prophetic faith provide insights about societal and global issues of truth, justice, peace, and hope. In addition to his legal and pastoral work, Judge Griffin is the CEO of Griffin Strategic Consulting, PLLC. Judge, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good to be with you again, Brother Jackson. Thank you for the work you do, for the witness you have, and for the way you keep us focused on what's real.
Judge, I want to, I appreciate that, Judge. I want to dive right in. Again, so many things come together in the life of the judge. And it is rare for me to have a guest whose understanding of history, law, theology, politics, African-American engagement, the way in which the Republic itself is built around us, all come together in one individual. And so this is going to be a fast-moving program, but I'm counting on the judge's insight, which I know is evident from our time together today. Judge, let me just start with this. There were 16 blacks in Congress at the end of First Reconstruction. 14 were in the House of Representatives, 2 in the United States Senate. And as you know, Tilden Hayes Compromise of 1877, the Plessy versus Ferguson decision of 1896, the commencement of Jim Crow, the most violent period against African Americans in the nation's history, poll taxes even after the 15th Amendment, jelly beans, how many stairs to get up to get to vote and the elevator don't work. You can't use the stairs and you can't catch the elevator. We've been through a lot. Brown versus the Board of Education, 1954, Emmett Till, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., I Have a Dream, Jimmy Lee Jackson in Marion, Alabama, coming to the rescue of his mother after James Orange was about to be hung over getting young people to become deputy registrars, and Selma to Montgomery. Mm-hmm. And now we're looking at the governor of Texas, President Trump, saying he wants 5 seats, mid-decennial census, breaking the regular order of the process for which we select Democrats and Republicans to fill seats in Congress. Jasmine Crockett, Congressman Mark Vesey, all of whom are losing or potentially in the same contests to lose their seats. Barbara Arnwine, our next guest, says that we could very well go after the Robinson-Clay decision, the Louisiana versus Clay decision, the arguments that will be made before the Supreme Court tomorrow. We could very go from 62 blacks in Congress today in Second Reconstruction to 23. I've argued back and forth with her that we could end up with half that number, 30, as a result of the tax on the Voting Rights Act. Judge, you've lived long enough to share with us the cyclical nature of this moment. Just how desperate is it? And where do we go from here?
We are, as you say, at a critical point in our history when it comes to voting rights for the Republic. And you have summarized the history clearly and accurately. To review that for those who weren't paying attention to your recitation, or for those who dropped out of high school, or for the MAGA folks who don't believe fact is fact, let's remember that this republic fought a war to liberate itself from race discrimination. And then within a decade of that war, the war ended in 1865, or 1866, the 13th Amendment, 1868, the 14th Amendment, Equal Protection of the Law and Due Process, 1870, the 15th Amendment, voting rights for all citizens of the United States, which was designed, these were the These were the Reconstruction era amendments.
Mm.
And they were designed, they were race specific. 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment were race specific, although race was not spoken of. It was very, very clear that they came on the heels of the Civil War. And then for another century, after 1865, we saw a deliberate effort, as you mentioned, post-Reconstruction, 1875 civil rights cases, post-Reconstruction, 1896, Plessy v. Ferguson, and we had the first decade of the 20th century, the Red Summer of 1919, all the riots, and then the Ku Klux Klan rising. We saw this effort to enfranchise Black folks fought bitterly until 1965, when the Voting Rights Act finally was passed. When I was getting ready to come on your show, I picked up a book I'm guilty of reading too much. And you're a theologian. You're familiar with the name Reinhold Niebuhr?
Absolutely.
Reinhold Niebuhr wrote an article October after 1968. You recall 1968, the Kerner Commission report. And in that article that appeared in Social Digest, Reinhold Niebuhr made this reference. In 1896, the number of Negroes, that was a word he used, registered in Louisiana was 130,344. 4 years later, in 1900, after the state rewrote the suffrage provisions of its constitution, only 5,320 Negroes were able to be on the registration books.
Wait a minute, Judge. Judge, state those numbers again.
I want
to share with us how we got from that large number to that itty bitty number
in 4 years.
Come on, Judge.
In 4 years. Now, and I want to remind people, Reinhold Niebuhr was a white man, because some folks don't believe folks look like you and me.
I ain't met no Negro named Niebuhr before, but I hear you.
But it's time to get down to the rat killing now. Let's tell the truth, okay?
Absolutely.
Let's tell the truth.
Come on, Judge.
In 1896, the number of Negroes registered to vote in Louisiana after the 15th Amendment, but before Plessy v. Ferguson took full power. Plessy v. Ferguson was 1896. The number of Negroes registered to vote was 130,344. In 1900, 4 years later, after the state rewrote the suffrage, the voting provisions of its state constitution, after Plessy v. Ferguson, only 5,320 Negroes were on the registration books. Now, if you can do any kind of arithmetic, you know that's less than 1%. That's a 99+% cut in Black voting. And it was racially intended, which is why the Louisiana v. Calais decision and oral argument tomorrow takes so much of my attention, because we now have a Supreme Court that appears to be poised to say that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which deal with conditions for voting and voting districts, cannot have a race-conscious aspect if it's remedial. When the history of the state that this case is brought on contains clear evidence of intentional efforts to keep Black folks from voting. And so this is cyclical, and it also shows how we have to be constantly vigilant.
Judge, I am having a sobering moment here in your analysis, because you were very clear when you said the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, since the Constitution of the United States, they argue, is supposed to be race neutral. Your point While it does not mention race, it is clear that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment are race specific.
Oh yeah, I keep on my desk a copy of the Constitution of the United States because I believe that one should always be prepared. I'm going to be prepared. And the Constitution of the United States, the 13th Amendment, deals with with slavery, and we know that 13th Amendment says slavery will be invalidated except for that one heinous condition.
In prison.
Heinous condition, but slavery is outlawed. But that was aimed for the Africans, because who else had been enslaved?
Yes.
In 1866. And then the 14th Amendment, which talks about all persons born in the United States shall be citizens of the United States. That's birthright citizenship. Oh, Lord have mercy, I just said something. Because previously, black folks who were born, black men who were born in the United States, women have not been enfranchised by that point, could not be citizens. That's Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857. Now we have the 15th Amendment. All persons who are citizens of the United States have the right to vote.
Judge, I think you're gaveling your desk.
I
can hear it on the radio.
I need to quit pounding the pulpit, but I'm just I'm invoking one of them who just recently joined the ancestors, Dr. J. Alfred Smith Sr., who always says, "I'm trying to make it plain."
A wonderful man. I surely miss him. Good friend of my father's and my family's out of San Francisco. I'm
going to quit pounding the desk and simply say that, and Sister Gina saying, "Tell I'm going to quit pounding the desk." This shows us that the problem we now see in Robinson versus KBLA is a recurring problem, and as you have mentioned, Greg Abbott, the governor of the neo-fascist state called Texas, volunteered to come up with new voting districts, and you can 10 times double dog bet that he doesn't intend to come up with more districts for black folks. He's trying to, as you mentioned, cut out voting districts for black representatives of Congress.
Yeah, he wants Jasmine Crockett out. He wants Al Green out. He's drawing DC into the Jasmine Crockett district. So it's a black on black feud to the extent that we allow that to happen.
And we have to understand that tomorrow's argument in the Supreme Court will take place before judges who are going to behave and think as if this stuff is not happening, nor that the history I recounted from 1896 and 1900 in Louisiana happened. But we know it happened. What we're dealing with is an ahistorical approach to justice and democracy from the people we have historically wanted to believe we could count on for justice and democracy.
Judge, I had my brother Jonathan Jackson, the congressman of the 1st Congressional District, on the show yesterday, and he said, Jesse, essentially, there's no such thing as a narrow Supreme Court decision. We have about 2 minutes before we come forward. He said, there's no such thing as a narrow Supreme Court decision. You see, the holding in Robinson versus KBLA, if they strike down race-specific remedies to draw congressional districts, it will also further enforce the admissions to college. It will enforce the minority business contracts. It will enforce the inclusion of African Americans at every facet and level of the society, because it's not the facts of the case. It is the central premise and holding offered by the court that is so devastating to Second Reconstruction.
It is an ideology, as you mentioned, Brother Jackson. As your brother mentioned, we must remember that in 2023, this same court, save for this last justice, struck down the North Carolina and the Harvard admissions programs, viewing them as being discriminatory not because they could point to anybody who was kept out who should have been in, but because they said the very idea of an inclusive, demographically inclusive, race-sensitive minded admissions program is hostile. And so the point that Brother Jonathan mentioned is spot on.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is none other than the distinguished judge, the Right Reverend Judge Wendell Griffin. He is both a retired judge, he's a lawyer, he is also a minister and a pastor, and so many things with respect to our history come together in his life. His interpretation matters to who we are. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Judge Wendell Griffin when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York Attorney General Letitia James made her first public appearance since being indicted by the Trump administration's DOJ, showing support for New York Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani.
And I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend.
Speaking at a major rally Monday night, James did not name Trump, but said, quote, "I fear no man," end quote. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says GOP Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has shown a more enlightened side lately, pointing to her stance on the Epstein files and expiring federal health care subsidies. Greene recently criticized Republicans for failing to address the loss of Affordable Care Act subsidies. And R&B star D'Angelo has died at 51 after a private battle with cancer. His family confirmed the news, remembering the Grammy winner known for his hits like Untitled, How Does It Feel? Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a marvelous pitching performance from Blake Snell in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series, and then survived a dramatic ninth inning to hold on for a 2-1 win over Milwaukee. Snell was on the mound for 8 shutout innings. He had 10 strikeouts, allowed only 1 hit, and picked off a base runner. Snell is 3-0 in the postseason with a 0.86 earned run average. Reliever Blake Trenton struck out Bryce Terrain to get out of a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the ninth. Game 2 is tonight in Milwaukee. First pitch at 5 o'clock. The largest attendance over the weekend for an HBCU football game was 44,000. That was the turnout for Jackson State's homecoming game. Jackson State, ranked number 13 in this week's NCAA Division I AA poll, defeated Alabama State 38-34. Next game for Jackson State is Saturday, October 25th in Las Vegas against Grambling. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in the National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Judge Griffin.
Yes, sir.
Judge Wendell Griffin, a retired judge and pastor. Through his consulting firm, he leverages his expertise to provide guidance and support to individuals and organizations seeking to create positive change in their communities. Los Angeles, those of you who are listening, he is also available to help movie studios, law firms, and others navigate their way through these very difficult periods. Judge, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good to be with you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Judge, before I get to some thoughts about your book, I want to go back to this idea of precedence. The Plessy versus Ferguson decision was an 1896 Supreme Court case that established the separate but equal doctrine, ruling that racial segregation was constitutional as long as the facilities provided to each race were equal.
Yeah.
The case arose from Homer Plessy, a man of mixed race who was arrested for sitting in a whites-only railway car in Louisiana. The decision upheld the legality of segregation and provided a legal basis for Jim Crow laws for nearly 60 years until it was overturned by Brown versus the Board of Education. If the Supreme Court of the United States in the Louisiana case, Robinson versus Calais, United States versus Calais, whatever the title of the case ultimately ends up being called, striking down race-based remedies to historic problems in the United States, please give us some sense of its application beyond the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which could eliminate a significant, if not most, members of Congress who are African American and Hispanic. What it means across the board, from admissions to contracting to the Black middle class. Your Honor, our time is yours.
Your analysis of the wide scope of the possible negative effect of a decision in Robinson versus Calais, Louisiana versus Calais, is spot on. Not just in voting, and it's bad enough. I mean, it's bad enough. And I should say, as I said, I was getting down to the rat killing. I am not optimistic about a favorable outcome from the U.S. Supreme Court. Let's remember, this is the second time the court has had this case for argument, because this case was argued earlier this year. It was argued in March of this year, and it was reset for argument on one issue: whether or not the three-judge court in Louisiana ruled wrongly or not, and whether or not the intentional use, that's the Supreme Court's notion, of race in drawing districts violates separate equal protection laws. Here's the problem. When you're talking about minority contracting, when you're talking about so-called set-asides, when you're talking about minority owned businesses getting able to have access to contracting from government contracts or from private contracting, what we're really talking about is the implications or the future of the whole notion of diversity, inclusion, and equity, DEI, okay? We know what the political view of the Trump administration is on DEI. But now we're going to have the Supreme Court of Arkansas weigh on the whole point, not just in voting, but across the whole issue of all our life. Nothing will be untouched.
So the congressman said yesterday that he went to a Black women's conference where corporations felt uncomfortable sponsoring the conference.
Yeah.
Who historically supported the conference because their names may show up on a list as supporting Black women and a Black women's conference. I can say that my attendance at the Congressional Black Caucus this year showed a significant reduction for members of Congress who were Black in sponsorship for the Black Caucus weekend. These are the kinds of ripple effects, and these are just the small ones. Black scholarships and support for historically Black colleges and universities. No one wants to show that they've given money to these institutions in an environment that might be seen as outside the scope of the law.
In my state, Arkansas, the governor of the state, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who formerly worked for Donald Trump, as soon as she got into office, pushed through a law that basically jettisons all references to civil rights in any aspect of state government. Education.
In Arkansas, where Ernie Green and the Little Rock Nine?
And Sarah Huckabee Sanders graduated from, drum roll, I can't beat the table, Little Rock Central High School. And the
school where it took place.
The school where it took place. We are now at this point where in Arkansas, you can look in the state website, there's no reference to, I'm wondering what's going to happen to minority tourism. What's going to happen to tourism departments that try to target non-white tourist populations? You understand Brother Jonathan has touched on this very well. This thing has a wide reach, and that's by design. Remember, These are people who are worried about, quote, replacement. So they want to go back to an Ozzie and Harriet kind of place, a milquetoast kind of world where Black people were seen only as domestics. And people of color did as they were told and did not tell anybody what they thought, because if they told anybody what they thought, they would check people. No, the notion of the Black presence, the Black thought, the Black intellect, the Black insight, Black genius, Black creativity is being not only suppressed, it is being repressed.
Judge, when we come forward, we have just about 45 seconds, a little less than a minute. When we come forward, I want to talk with you and hear your thoughts on this idea that there are illegal people in the United States, and my theology tells me there's no such thing as an illegal person. And so once they define you, they can confine you and they can help shape the narrative. When I see these brothers, our brown brothers and sisters coming to the United States, even though they didn't vote for my candidate of choice by and large, once they define the rhetoric, it seems to lock us out of the space for community and world house and that which Dr. King advocated. I also want to touch upon your books, Parables in Politics and Prophetic Faith, which I just ordered. The challenge of this book attempts to confront how Christians' standing and tradition of the biblical prophets and of Jesus of Nazareth and the prophets of today read and discern the signs of our time. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with the Judge when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from Black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of Black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour has been the Right Reverend Judge Wendell Griffin, a retired judge and pastor, a highly respected figure in the realm of social justice. Judge Griffin's writings and speeches demonstrate his deep convictions and commitment to justice. In addition to Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith, Nurturing Faith 2023, and The Fierce Urgency of Prophetic Hope, Judson Press in 2016, the judge maintains a prolific online presence through his blogs, Fierce Prophetic Hope, The Judge on Cultural Competency, and Justice is a Verb. He is also the co-chair of the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference. By the way, I was with Iva Crothers this past Saturday. The judge plays an active role in organizing and advocating for social justice initiatives. Through this conference, he helps bring together diverse voices and perspectives to create a united front against systemic racism and injustice. His fearless commitment to shining a light on injustice and the unwavering belief in the power of prophetic hope have made him a tireless advocate for a more just and compassionate world, and extremely sought after as a public speaker. Your Honor, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for that kind commendation. I hope to live up to that sometime.
Oh, Judge, tell us about Parables, Politics, and the Prophetic Faith.
During the pandemic, Alan Buzak of South Africa and I collaborated across the various platforms of Zoom and and every other platform we could find to talk about what was going on. I mean, we were seeing the decimation of people and the medical apartheid of COVID. And we were dealing with that as we were dealing with the lies that Trump was telling about this issue, and we were dealing with about that, and we were dealing with also the fact that our people in South Africa and in the United States were literally having to fight against their own governments to get what they deserved. And so we viewed the time as not parables in the biblical sense, but our time as a parable. Our situations as parables, and drawing from various passages of scripture, we draw analogies between what's going on in Haiti, for instance, in the world, and a passage in the Hebrew texts, the lessons about Micaiah. What does prophetic faith mean, and the need we have to persevere with a sense of hope, even in times of peril, because we are dealing with perilous times.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely. You know, it's really interesting because I've referred to the life of Martin Luther King Jr. on the backdrop of history, from Aristophanes to Euripides to the present, as a turning point in American and human history, not just the moment that he engaged in civil rights or his tragic and untimely death, but a turning point. I mean, a turning point in human history, not to borrow the language or the organization of Charlie Kirk, whose life I, profoundly offer my condolences for, but I don't see it as a turning point, even though he branded his organization and life as a turning point. Dr. King's definitely was. If a new chapter, given the spirit of the language in the Bible, had to be written, it would be written as the Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Martin Luther King Jr. disciplic chapter of the New Testament for the modern world. The idea of the experiment to achieve a world house and common good. And so I certainly appreciate what the effort was, because I do think that we are living in a time where certain stories certainly reflect the parables and the politics of a modern era. If the architects of the book itself, Council of Nicaea and the various councils that created the modern book, the Niv and others, that we would find ourselves being able to clearly identify characters in the Bible who model, right, the life of the spirit of this ministry. And I certainly think that your interpretation of that matters. Judge, let me ask you a question. No such thing as illegal people. Work with us here, and with being mindful of the fact that we are at 2:57 and we have a word of hope from you before the top of the hour.
I want to do two things. There are no such thing as illegal people and no such thing as chosen people. There are no such thing as illegal people. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. There are no illegal people. Only conduct is illegal. Lawful or unlawful conduct we can talk about, but nobody comes in this world as an outlaw. Nobody comes in this world as a criminal. Nobody comes in this world as an undesirable. We are all God's children, and our conduct may offend society's norms. Our conduct may offend the rules of our faith, but we are, the imago Dei is in each of us. We are each in the image of God. And so I had to take issue with some of my brothers and sisters who looked like you and me, who picked up that language of illegal people, because no. Because there was a time we were called illegal people.
That's right. Now we needed an amendment to the Constitution to overcome that illegality.
Yes. We were called illegal people. We were called non-people. And I'm beating the table again. I'm sorry. But that we have to stop letting people tell us what we're supposed to think. And I want to talk about this notion of, oh my goodness gracious, not just illegal people, but the invasions
Judge,
of
we
our
have
place.
We have a minute before the hard hour.
Let me give a word of hope. Out of all we've come through, let's remember, God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, you who have brought us thus far on the way. We have come, out and through. And we have to remember that it was not a court that made us who we are. It was a God and a God sense of who we are that made us who we are. Keep on fighting, folks. Keep on hoping. Keep on struggling. Walk together, children. Walk together. Thank you, Brother Jess, for letting me come on.
Judge, I'm honored. I hope you'll come back and spend some more time with us in the future.
I hope that Sister Gina doesn't beat you too badly because I beat the table. But I thank you for having me on. God bless you and your work. God bless your family. Prayers for your daddy and your mama and your siblings as you work through the issues of our time. But let's know God is with us.
Your Honor, I want you to know that you're always welcome on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest has been none other than the Right Reverend Judge Wendell Griffin. More with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York Attorney General Letitia James made her first public appearance since being indicted by the Trump administration's DOJ, showing support for New York Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani.
And I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend.
Speaking at a major rally Monday night, James did not name Trump, but said, quote, "I fear no man," end quote. Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says GOP Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has shown a more enlightened side lately, pointing to her stance on the Epstein files and expiring federal health care subsidies. Greene recently criticized Republicans for failing to address the loss of Affordable Care Act subsidies. And R&B star D'Angelo has died at 51 after a private battle with cancer. His family confirmed the news, remembering the Grammy winner known for his hits like Untitled, How Does It Feel? Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. In their wait, sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a marvelous pitching performance from Blake Snell in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series and then survived a dramatic ninth inning to hold on for a 2-1 win over Milwaukee. Snell was on the mound for 8 shutout innings. He had 10 strikeouts, allowed only 1 hit, and picked off a base runner. Snell is 3-0 in the postseason with a 0.86 earned run average. Reliever Blake Trenton struck out Bryce Terrain to get out of a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the ninth. Game 2 is tonight in Milwaukee. First pitch at 5 o'clock. The largest attendance over the weekend for an HBCU football game was 44,000. That was the turnout for Jackson State's homecoming game. Jackson State, ranked number 13 in this week's NCAA Division I AA poll, defeated Alabama State 38-34. Next game for Jackson State is Saturday, October 25th in Las Vegas against Grambling. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Oh, wow. There's so much that I have to hash through, and get completed and done in the next hour with our regular host on Tenacious Tuesdays, Reverend Dr. Attorney. Yes, I added Reverend to it today, Barbara, because it's impossible for you to get by it. Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition. She is in a ministry. She is internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Currently, she also serves as co-chair and facilitator of the National Commission for Voter Justice, the Millennial Votes Matters convenings, and the Voting Rights Alliance. She was the head of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under law from February 1989 until June of 2015, and holds the honorific title of President Emeritus. Madam President, how are you? And welcome forward to your show, Tenacious Tuesdays, on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's great to be here.
Barbara, listen, I had an amazing conversation with Congressman Jonathan Jackson yesterday.
Oh, great.
Just finished an amazing conversation with the Right Reverend Judge Wendell Griffin. And Jonathan is going to be with you tomorrow at the Supreme Court while the arguments are being made for the case, Louisiana versus Calais, Robinson versus Calais. And so in this hour, I'd like to talk about the gravity of that decision and what it could mean, and the work and advocacy that you're doing. Jonathan reminded us that there's no narrow Supreme Court decision, that every Supreme Court decision has broad-based precedents. And while it may focus on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, he said minority contracts from airports to businesses to the chilling effect at the National Negro Conference of Women to the Black Caucus to corporations that don't want to sponsor events to Black scholarships at Ivy League colleges, state institutions, all of them are affected by the precedents that could be set by the Calais case. That is, that race can no longer be used as a factor in determining a remedy for racial justice. Attorney Barbara Arnwine.
Well, you're going to be surprised at what I'm about to say. That's the least of our worries.
Oh, my goodness.
Because this case seeks to totally invalidate the Voting Rights Act. Section 2, the non-discriminatory provisions of the act are based on the identical language of the 15th Amendment. And they are saying that there's no current evidence of voter discrimination, that there's no evidence of discrimination in voting against African Americans. And therefore, Section 2 is no longer constitutional. So they seek not only to make race a non-quote predominant factor in drawing districts. But they're also saying you can't use the Voting Rights Act to challenge any kind of voter discrimination on the basis of race. You can't, if they put, like they did in Missouri, if they put a noose over the entrance to the polling place, you can't. Did you hear me? You cannot. Under their reasoning, there would be no Section 2 saying that that's illegal. You would have to use the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause and argue, or Due Process Clause, and argue intent that they're trying to keep Black folks, that they are deliberately, purposefully, aforethought, trying to stop African Americans from accessing that polling place. Now we could just go into court under the Voting Rights Act and say that's a known discriminatory practice, that it is that it has the effect of keeping African Americans out of that polling booth, and that African Americans are negatively intimidated by such a symbol. And regardless of whether or not whoever put it up there, intended to or not, it doesn't matter. Intent's no factor. The issue is they did it and they allowed it to occur and they allowed it to continue. That would be gone. Gone. They want to invalidate all the discrimination aspects of the Voting Rights Act.
Barbara, you know what I feel in this moment, and I know that we're coming forward in a break. I feel not only Martin Luther King Jr. rolling over in his grave, Ralph Abernathy, James Bevel,
I wish you could see
James
your face.
Orange, Jimmy Lee Jackson, and every Rosa Parks. I can see them all not only rolling over in their graves, but I'm thinking about the lapse from the reality that even deceased, that they have to accept in the spirit realm, and how long it's going to take our people to realize what this moment means.
Yes.
Why your protest tomorrow matters, and why you're sounding this alarm bell to say, listen, everybody, tomorrow through these arguments and through this decision, the world literally changes.
Yes.
I'm Jesse Jackson. This is KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Show with Tenacious Tuesdays and Barbara Arnwine. The world begins to change tomorrow, whether we're ready to accept it or not.
Well, the arguments tomorrow,
Barbara,
once they issue the decision.
When we come forward, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
Thank you.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate, with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless, for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters, We'll see you there.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS and TRA.com. Real solutions for real people.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. On KBLA Talk 1580, our very special guest is none other than Barbara Arnwine, and she is the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition. We are at a turning point in our history, and during the break, Barbara, the producer, and I, Gina Towns, and I were discussing those Blacks and African Americans that we have given over the last, let's just say 20 years, platforms to, are not using their platforms to articulate what's taking place tomorrow. We have elected an African American president of the United States whose very existence in both the state of Illinois as a state senator and ultimately U.S. Senator and then President of the United States, ought to be ringing the bell on the challenges to the Voting Rights Act. We've elected a vice president through Joe Biden. Let alone Joe Biden should be ringing the bell. He claims John Lewis was his good friend. He's known him for 100 years and all this stuff, like back when they were with the Founding Fathers and when they ignored John Lewis at the founding of the Republic, even though Joe Biden was there. It just seems to me that when we look at Hakeem Jeffries and, others who, proudly say and attend the Selma to Montgomery reenactment marches, that now that the rubber has met the road and it's coming back to us in the form of Robinson versus Calais or Louisiana versus Calais. Turtle Mountain case, it's coming back to us in this form.
Thank you.
These guys are talking about everything else but it, as if, just to be in a picture with John Lewis was the answer, rather than, man, I think if I were former president of the United States and I were building my own library and I didn't have anything else to do but play golf, I think I would be speaking in every Negro church in America saying, are y'all paying attention to this? Are you all watching this? I mean, everything I'm about was about this moment. And I'll be if they're going to take it from us unless we really engage. Talk to us, Barbara.
Woo! I mean, this is so serious. You just laid it out. This is so serious, everybody. There are 62 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. There are 66 African American members of Congress. Not all belong to the caucus. It is estimated that if this court says that drawing majority districts is unconstitutional, is reverse discrimination, is not permitted, if this court says that, 22 to 23 of those Congress people, their districts will immediately be attacked. Immediately. And they'll be saying, get them out of there. They're illegally here in Congress. Do you hear me? Don't you see Mike Johnson making such a motion that we don't count their votes? They're illegitimate. The court has said so. I mean, come on, folks. You got to go take it to the extreme because that's what they're doing. And then they're going to say, not only are we going to take away your congressional representation, we're going to make it so that you can't even sue. We're going to make it so that there's not even a provision under the Voting Rights Act to even sue under. Folks, we are at a dangerous moment. I say that this is the most important racial justice case of the 21st century right now. There hasn't been a case this profound since Brown versus Board. People need to understand that when they made the decision, and I'm talking about the Supreme Court in 2013, where they eviscerated, literally shut down Section 4B, and which also shut down Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. What did they say, Reverend Jackson? What did they say? They said it doesn't really matter because Section 2 still exists.
That's what they said now.
Come on now. And now they're saying people are
Section 2. They're saying Section 2 is unconstitutional.
Right. They're going to argue that tomorrow with our taxpayer dollars. They're the Solicitor General of the United States representing President Trump is going to argue that. The Louisiana Attorney General and their representatives, they're going to argue that in using Black taxpayer money to argue that using our money to argue that we don't have rights. Folks, this is beyond serious. I don't understand. Tell me, if I were in Congress right now, I would be there's only two places you can find me. One is in hearings around this country where they have sent in troops to terrorize Black neighborhoods saying, get the hell out. Second would be here at the Supreme Court tomorrow. That's the only two things you could expect me to do. And I think that it's tragic that we're looking at where people are not informing our folks. We had a meeting, think about this. Yesterday, we had a meeting of the National Bar Association's Civil Rights Section. The president of the National Bar even attended it. And by the time we finished talking about this case to lawyers who know the law, by the time we finished talking to this case, you could have heard a pin drop. The seriousness, the faces in the room, everybody was sober. Everybody was somber. Everybody was shocked because how is this happening that nobody knows? And we got to understand that the forces of darkness operate in the dark when nobody's looking, when nobody's paying attention. This is a tragedy of leadership for period. I don't just blame any particular element. This is a failure, and shame on these racist state legislatures who want to get rid of Black representation and Black political power. We got to understand what we're fighting, because this is all about eviscerating Black political power.
Barbara, thank you for ringing this alarm bell for all of our communities. Can you share for those of us who are in Los Angeles, what its consequences, because you are a Los Angelino.
Yes.
Share with us what the Robinson versus Calais decision would mean as it kind of has a ripple effect across the nation.
It would mean the minute this case was decided, if it's decided the wrong way, if it's decided the wrong way, then people would start filing lawsuits saying different people, Emmanuel Cleaver, Mark Veazey, you name it, they would start filing lawsuits saying they need to that their positions that they hold in Congress are illegal and unconstitutional because they are the product of majority Black districts. That would happen here.
Barbara, what would that force the congressman to do when he's now facing a lawsuit? He got to not only raise money to get reelected, he now needs a lawyer.
You got all
to
of
defend
them.
the district.
And think about this. Okay, my fellow Angelinos, think about this. You got amazing Maxine Waters. You look at and you love so many of you do, Jasmine Crockett. You look around the country and you admire all of these stalwart, beautiful, powerful African-American leaders. Do you understand what they mean to a Congress? The Congress is not naturally by any means progressive. Most of the progressive viewpoints in the Congress come from your Black, Latino, Native American, and Asian members. Don't get it twisted. And you start, because remember, it's going to affect the brown, the Latino members. It's going to affect the Native American members. It's going to affect it's going to affect all of us. And people got to understand that if that happens, you think there would be a shutdown happening right now? Of talking about people dying from because they might not have Medicaid coverage? That's the progressives. And most of them people are of color who are fighting this and leading and being part of this fight. Folks, it will change the entire body politic of the United States.
Barbara, there's very little conversation while African Americans, including the leader like yourself, have been sounding the alarm bell on the consequences of this decision and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Whenever I bring up this Voting Rights Act, everyone goes back to Shaw v. Reno, or they even go back to Holder. I'm like, no, we got one right now.
Right.
And we got one right now. That's worse than that.
Yes.
I'm thinking that people need to understand in real time, as Jonathan shared with us and as the judge just shared with us, that there is no narrow Supreme Court decision. Every single one of them establishes national precedents on multiple issues. It's not the facts of the case. Homer Plessy's case was about transportation, but it ended up over here at water fountains. It ended up over here at neighborhoods. It ended up over here at voting. It ended up over here at contracting. It ended up over here in all of this other space because it's not the facts of the case. Everybody's facts who went to prison are different. There's no such thing as everyone is going to prison for the same crime. And when it comes to the Supreme Court, every fact pattern that comes before it is different than the last fact pattern. It's not the fact pattern. It is the holding of the case. And the likely holding of this case could very well decimate the progress for not only Blacks, but for Hispanics. I hear no talk from Hispanic leadership about the possibility of losing their representation in Congress.
Right. It's tragic that we across the board, people are so unaware. I had my show today. We talked about the court, and people, and my guest, Alex Aronson, who is one of the major Supreme Court watchers and one of the major analysts on the court, talked about just how unaware all Americans are about the court. And I think that we got to understand, we say we're a nation of laws. That means that your Supreme Court is critical. That means that you should be, every time you vote for a senator, you should be saying how they're going to vote on the Supreme Court. Every time you elect a president, you should say, what kind of Supreme Court are they going to back? We have to get that kind of consciousness, because everyone, this Nome versus Vazquez case that they decided a couple weeks ago, where they said that you could stop and arrest and detain somebody because they were speaking Spanish. because they were Latino, because they were, quote, a low-wage worker, that
Totally
they were
totally crazy. Totally
That's
crazy.
racial profiling.
Absolutely.
Racial profiling. And they said that's all right. This court is out of its mind. It's really just not ruling in the best interest of the American public. And it's not just me. Don't think it's just me because I'm a voting rights, racial justice advocate. Even the conservative judges on the federal court have been speaking out about this court. They say there's something wrong with this court. They're pointing out, why do they keep using the shadow docket? Which means that they're allegedly taking cases as an emergency. They're not having oral arguments on these cases, and they're issuing rulings that say, Trump can continue to do this or whatever, but they're not writing decisions that explain why they came to that conclusion. There is no decision written by the court that explains that known decision.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Tenacious Tuesdays with attorney Barbara Arnwine on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward on our show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Florida Democrats are urging Republicans to negotiate on health care before reopening the government. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz warned Obamacare tax credits expire soon, while Black Rep Maxwell Frost says Floridians deserve honesty.
The governor should be warning people that their health care is about to go up, especially being the governor of a state that has the largest amount of people who use the Affordable Care Act in the entire country.
House Speaker Mike Johnson argues the government must reopen before any health care debate. Former President Barack Obama is starring in a new ad urging Californians to vote yes on Proposition 50. In the 30-second spot, Obama warns that democracy is in danger. The ad will air statewide through Election Day. And Natalia Harris, Delaware, Ohio's first Black woman city attorney, has resigned, citing bullying and discrimination. Hired in 2019, her last day was October 3rd. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a marvelous pitching performance from Blake Snell in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series, and then survived a dramatic ninth inning to hold on for a 2-1 win over Milwaukee. Snell was on the mound for 8 shutout innings. He had 10 strikeouts, allowed only 1 hit, and picked off a base runner. Snell is 3-0 in the postseason with a 0.86 earned run average. Reliever Blake Trenton struck out Bryce Terrain to get out of a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the ninth. Game 2 is tonight in Milwaukee. First pitch at 5 o'clock. The largest attendance over the weekend for an HBCU football game was 44,000. That was the turnout for Jackson State's homecoming game. Jackson State, ranked number 13 in this week's NCAA Division I AA poll, defeated Alabama State 38-34. Next game for Jackson State is Saturday, October 25th in Las Vegas against Grambling. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian, with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest on Tenacious Tuesdays is none other than Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's an honor to be here because you cover the news. You're not playing. This is
Barbara.
no chit chat. This is real hard news.
Barbara Arnwine. Her work includes immigrant rights, judicial diversity, criminal justice reform, racial profiling, healthcare disparities, LGBTQIA rights. A prominent leader in the civil and human rights community, she fights for the preservation of affirmative action and diversity programs. She's also an outspoken voice about the need for reparations for African descendants in the Americas. Barbara, I am so glad that you are one of the leaders and one of the most popular shows on our show, on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Barbara, let me ask you a question, and let me just cut to the chase of something I know myself. When you support a member of Congress for public office, either through your vote or through your financial support for them to run for office, you actually are paying for someone to do what you need them to do for how they feel. I'm not, and cannot, for whatever reason, be alongside Barbara Arnwine when she's before the Supreme Court of the United States tomorrow. I can't be there and do this radio show at the same time. So Barbara's going to be there. So what do? I send Barbara $25 or $50 or $100 so she can be there to represent me in my absence. Supporting the Transformative Justice Coalition is important. She does this for us 24/7. When I send a senator to the Senate or a congressman to Congress or an alderman to the city council or a state representative, and I believe in them, I support them to carry my voice as my representative so I don't have to go there and raise hell myself.
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
how can we support the Transformative Justice Coalition and the work that you do?
Oh,
We can't fly from Los Angeles or Las Vegas or Alabama or Mississippi or Louisiana to be there when you are fighting for us on the streets, talking to the media, raising hell on MSNBC and CNN, speaking with Don Lemon, telling them this is it, folks. What can we do to support you, Barbara?
Oh, that's so kind of you. People think you get grants. They think you got grants to cover everything you do. Listen, we do this by scratching and pulling. I'm serious. because
pass the plate, pass the hat.
because we need support, and I wish people would become supporters of Transformative Justice Coalition. You can go to tjcoalition.org and give to us and donate, because every dime we get goes to this work. I don't get no boondoggles.
She deserves one. She deserves one. She's fighting for me.
Any. That ain't happening. Because they watching every dime I get, every dime I spend. And I just want you to know that we want to do the best for our people, because the problem is that there's so few of us who are out here doing this hard work. I gotta say one ray of hope. One ray of hope. I do want to talk about the Black churches. There is something happening in the Black churches.
Take your time. Go ahead, Barbara.
There's something new happening in the Black churches. This weekend, the new National Christian Leadership Movement had a prayer vigil for this case. They educated themselves on this case. They knew nothing about this case a month ago. And they educated themselves where they could speak well on this case. They were reaching out to other ministers to make sure that they're learning how to talk about what's going on with this court and what's going on with our rights. Then, that was Sunday. Monday, the Progressive National Baptist Convention had a meeting about this case. So they are beginning to take this seriously. They had Congress people on the calls. They had other lawyers in addition to myself and Daryl Jones, my co-leader. They were urging people to not only go to the Supreme Court and be there, and some of them are even flying in to be with us tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock at the front of the Supreme Court at 1st and Maryland Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C. They're flying in. People are getting on. Did you know that people are getting on buses? That Black Voters Matters is sponsoring buses from Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, and people are getting on those buses because they care that much. That's the hope, people. Those are folks who are taking those extra steps. They're not just sitting back, Reverend Jackson, and just saying, I don't care, or I'm too upset and I got to rest and whatever. They are going to be here tomorrow. Got on those buses and rode hours so that they could be here tomorrow.
All of these things cost.
Yes.
And we might not be able to be there, but you can hear my voice. Pull out your credit card, go to TJ Coalition.
Please.
TJCoalition.org.
Yes. TJCoalition.org.
And support Barbara Arnwine and this Transformative Justice work. Be the wind beneath her wings. I'm hoping that Barbara on Wednesday will come to our show, or Thursday, whenever she's finished fighting like hell for us up on the Supreme Court, to give us a report on the body language of the justices.
Yes, and what they say.
And what they say. We need to know. I heard that Clarence Thomas is no big fan of the Voting Rights Act.
What you mean heard?
How is that possible?
Heard? He done written all kind of stuff about how he hates the Voting Rights Act and how it should be unconstitutional. He's been writing this stuff for 30 years or more. He hates this act. In fact, there's a cabal in the court of Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch that just are so through with it. You say the word Voting Rights Act. So I just want people to understand how really, 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 really close this battle is and how badly we need to do it. If I had more funds, of course, I would have more lawyers. If I had more funds, of course.
Barbara, let me just say this. Let me just say this to you that I know that, let me just add this. Some of us are mad as hell about ICE and other federal authorities being in our cities.
That's right.
We are mad as hell about that, and rightfully so. But we are not mad as hell about losing the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, you can be mad as hell about that, but you ought to be mad as hell about Emmett Till's death, Rosa Parks sitting in because of it, because Martin Luther King Jr. coming to his rescue, all the Birmingham arrest, the letter from Birmingham jail.
Yes.
I Have a Dream speech, Selma to Montgomery, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 65, public accommodations legislation. I know you're mad as hell about immigrants, and you're marching by the tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands in cities across the country. But Robinson versus Calais, Louisiana versus Calais is a mad as hell moment.
Yes. Yes. And on October the 18th, there's no Kings this Saturday. I want you to make sure that they're talking about this case. If you go to a rally and nobody talks about no Kings, then you ain't had a rally. You had a playground. Come on.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with attorney Barbara Arnwine on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward on Tenacious Tuesdays.
Okay. Traffic. We can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in a National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history, and we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Now back to more.
Oh my God.
Barbara, we couldn't resist the opportunity to count down you back to the show. We've got a little less than 10
You're
minutes.
so wrong. You know you're wrong.
You know I try.
Wrong. You know you're wrong, people.
You know I try to leave the last couple of minutes for you to get a word of hope. Barbara, there are a number of issues that I know you know that I didn't focus on in the first 45 minutes of our show. Why don't we cover some of them and leave enough room for yourself for a word of hope at the end?
Well, I just want to remind everyone, please, 2 things tomorrow. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, you can get here. Meet us at the Supreme Court of the United States at 9 o'clock. The Legal Defense Fund, led by the mighty Janae Nelson, will be arguing the case in the court. Janae herself, as director counsel, will be delivering the argument. Do understand, people, this is so
That's a
unfair.
historic moment. That's a real historic moment.
Yes.
Wow.
Standing in Thurgood Marshall's shoes.
Wow.
And remember that this case was argued already in March, and they didn't like the argument. because the NAACP was fabulous. And there was no question they should have won that argument in March. So what did the court do? Instead of deciding the case, it rescheduled the case for a second argument.
Unbelievable.
Yes, which is rare, people. You don't understand how rare that is for the court to do that. And not only that, they changed the question. They added 2 more elements to the question, including this element about declaring the whole act itself unconstitutional. You got to understand how wicked and vicious and determined these anti-democracy forces are inside that court. And I just think that people need to be in prayer for Janae, in prayer for the LDF, but also be outside with us, because I chose not to go into the court. I'm a member of the court. I could have gone in and sat and watched the argument. I want to be on the outside with the people, making sure that folks are educated, making sure our voices are heard from the outside. Don't for a minute believe that the court doesn't pay attention to what the public is saying. Don't for a minute believe that. They're not above all of this. They don't sit in some rarefied bubble. They watch what's happening. And when they see us paying attention to them, they get nervous. Go to SupremeCourt.gov. Did you hear me? SupremeCourt.gov tomorrow and watch the argument. Plus, I know, give us some money. Give us some money. Okay, I see what you're saying. You want to make sure that I say, please donate to TJC, Transformative Justice Coalition, at tjcoalition.org. Folks, we're going to be out there doing this argument. No, history will never record that we were silent. History will record that we showed up in large numbers. History will record that we shook it up and that we made sure everybody understood what was at stake. We got work to do. The argument is one thing. There will be a decision in a couple of months, but it's also important what we do after the argument. So we are going to continue to organize, continue to pay attention to this court, because they got other cases around voting rights. They're trying to take so many bites at this apple that all they want to leave is a little ugly looking brown halfway gone core. They're trying to destroy this act. And it's so important for us to stay on it. And thank you. And the other thing I want to say to people is today they tried to make this day. Did you notice that they purposely chose George Floyd's birthday to have the Charlie Kirk remembrance resolution? That's all I'm going to say. They're punking us every day.
So George Floyd. So on our side of town, we're doing George Floyd.
Right.
On their side of town, they're doing Charlie Kirk. No different than the Martin Luther King birthday. On our side of town, we're doing Martin Luther King. On their side of town, they're doing Robert E. Lee.
And this Kirk thing is the new Robert E. Lee. I'm sorry, folks. That's what it is. And I will not bow down to it.
But it's two holidays. I want the American people to understand that it's one holiday, but it's two different celebrations that are taking in a segregated America. I don't know stronger evidence in Robinson versus Calais than to show the way in which God in this very moment, Barbara, is showing us the way holidays are treated. We do on January 15th or January 20th, MLK. And when Dr. King's birthday became a federal holiday, they then turned around and said, well, we're going to have we're going to have Robert E. Lee Day on the same. White folks don't have to celebrate Dr. King. It's George Floyd's Day. Well, we're going to have Charlie Kirk Day. So white folks don't have to celebrate George Floyd. They can do Charlie Kirk.
And they're talking about
on every side of every federal holiday, there is a side that we are barbecuing, getting drunk, stepping, and doing our thing on. On their side of town, they're doing something else. They do have their own holidays. Barbara, we got about a minute and a half.
Okay, and while you're talking, while they're doing the Charlie Kirk, holiday, quote, holiday, be aware, folks, that there's a lot of grumbling in the Congress about getting rid of Juneteenth holiday. And the president has himself commented on this, saying it should go. So I think we need to pay a real attention. This fascism, that's why we say no kings. That's why I'll be out there speaking on No Kings Day, Saturday. That's why I'm urging people to be involved. But I'm also saying if we don't center racial justice at the core of our fight, then the fight is worthless because it's critical. You can't beat racial fascism without addressing the racism that drives the fascism and that justifies it to so many people. Please, please, please become aware. Go to tjcoalition.org and read all the resources there. Watch the video that my colleague Daryl Jones has done that explains this case in beautiful layman's terms. Just be there. And for those of you in Louisiana, join the NAACP and others at the state capitol to protest the wrongful actions of the state legislature at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Tenacious Tuesday with our most active activist, Attorney Barbara Arnwine from the Transformative Justice Coalition. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Until tomorrow on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Jesse Jackson when we come forward tomorrow.
Thank you.